Go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 27 of the Purple Hyacinth podcast, Perplexing Paradox. And we have Bundin, Fwoot, and Lilia.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
All right, and Fwoot will start us off.
Okay, so we pick off right away from the last episode, and Lauren is looking up at an arcing blade towards her head. And yeah, it doesn't look great for Lauren. She will probably die. But suddenly there's a slash, and we see the silhouette of a figure holding what seems to be a sword, getting their head cut off. And they're, getting a little decapitated, just
a little.
It's Tuesday.
Little.
And then we get one of the most stunning Lauren panels you will ever see. And it's Lauren looking shocked. Her hair is flowing. You can see the wind, and there's blood splattered all over her face. And what she's looking up to is, one, a corpse, and second, another silhouette holding a blade. Still threatening, I guess, but somehow less threatening now because the other person with the blade probably won't kill her yet.
Wow, you're putting in your theories already.
Anyway.
Not letting go of that, huh?
So she is just in complete shock. She can barely process what just happened, and her pupils are just minuscule. They almost don't exist because of how scared she is. And she's looking down at the corpse, which is just bleeding all over the place, which honestly is kind of rude. I mean, what did that roof ever do to deserve that? The stain is probably going to be pretty hard to clean out, especially since they're going to be on the roof.
Yeah,
and Lauren looks up.
Wait, who's going to clean up? This is some random person's house who lives next to Blakesley. First of all, I don't know why nobody notices this battle going on, but fine. But yeah, they're going to wake up the next morning and be like, hey, there's 4 bodies on your roof. What's going to happen with them?
His friends will probably take care of the body just to not raise any suspicion.
Are his friends even alive still?
Well, I think they're
that's true. They probably are.
I'm assuming based on what happens next that they're not unconscious.
So Lauren looks up to her unfortunate savior, and it's Kieran. Hooray. I guess he wants me to celebrate this. But anyways, Kieran is looking down to her. He has blood all over him too. His hair is also what little hair he has is also flowing in the wind. We get the same panel of Lauren.
Bald.
I was about to say, Fernando didn't flow so much for you to call this man bald. For those of you who don't know, Fernando is the fandom name for Kieran's hair.
What?
Lauren's own is Tatiana. Oh, did you not know this?
Fernando is not an attractive name. I'm sorry.
Take that up with F and Soap. They're the ones who used it.
It's a perfectly good name already. I guess that's when teenagers rename themselves and parents are like, what's wrong with the name I gave you?
It's just their hair. It's just their hair.
Yeah, oh my god, I haven't seen anyone use Fernando or Tatiana in what feels like ages.
No.
It was the fandom last year. That's a relic.
It is a relic, just to show you how long I've been invested. It's been a year. Mm-hmm. Well, it's been more than a year, but the Fernando and Tatiana meme came around season 1's finale, so about a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So behind Kieran, we see one of the other henchmen, I guess, get up from the roof. Kieran turns around, he rushes over, and he hits the dude in the back of the head. Maybe killing him, maybe not. I know if you hit someone back there, you can potentially murder them. And Kieran, I don't see you carrying any hyacinths, so pick your murders wisely.
I like the fact that it kind of the setup of him killing this guy, right? And then immediately turning to the guy. You think, oh, he's just gonna use his sword again and kill that guy. And then he lifts up his hand, but then to see the elbow, it's a really good fake out of your expectations. But it's also a really good character beat, and it's visual storytelling, which y'all know I love, and Purple Hyacinth does it so well. It's just great.
Yeah, and I mean, this is showing us something about Kieran, which I want to discuss because like they have a whole conversation that we should, we're gonna get into, but it's telling, right away.
Just quickly going back to the blood on both of them thing, I think it's kind of cool. Like it shows that they're both equally not equally responsible, but they're both responsible for that man's death because like they both got splashed with his blood. Like I think that was what the scene, like Bundin said, like visual storytelling, that was kind of what the scene was trying to show.
His
See that?
blood is
saw-
on both their hands.
Right. When I saw Kieran, like that image of him looking down at her, he looks very, that word is going to come up, but he looks very monsterly in this image. He's not just covered with blood, but his eyes are furrowed and he's, masked. And I think, this is us seeing Kieran in his killing stage, which is, obviously like it's a big theme of this story that, Kieran doesn't want to see himself that way. He doesn't like that part of himself. He doesn't like that he has to do this. And, what's his self-image like? But, this is like normally the Kieran that we see interacting with Lauren is suave, is polished, is charming, is dressed well, is gentlemanly, more or less. But this is him where he doesn't want anyone to see him like this. This is the him that he doesn't want anyone to know about. But unfortunately, that is the him that he normally presents to the world. And Lauren usually gets to see the other side of him. But now she has to see what he's been forced to do something that he doesn't want to do for her. And she's now seeing him in a way that she has never seen him before, that she only has, imagined him or known about him as fact, but now she's seeing it in reality. And honestly, I think it's a sacrifice to him in more ways than one. It's a sacrifice in the sense that, he crossed a moral boundary that he tries not to cross as much as he can, but also he has to show her a side of himself that he didn't want to somebody whose opinion he respects and who's someone who doesn't view him like most other people, doesn't view him so negatively.
Yeah, and I think one of the main things as well is that this is, again, like, as readers, we are now in Lauren's place because we haven't seen this side either. So we are seeing this characterization as she does, which I think is done really well for us to be literally in her position in a way, because the way that he's drawn, he's looking down. We are looking, this is what Lauren is seeing looking up at him. And I think that it's really good use of him showing, because like he said before that he wouldn't kill without it being necessary. And if it's necessary, then if it's necessary, he'll do it. But given choice, he won't. And he's literally doing it. And her seeing that for the first time, it's not that she thought he was lying necessarily, but maybe she didn't know how serious he was about that. So he literally just killed a man and then used a non-lethal option to take out the other guy. So now that's just there. In comparison to the last episode, which I know she's gonna bring up later, but again, it's the fact that he said the next time that she jeopardizes the situation, he'll leave her to burn, to this, where he literally kills a man to save her life. Just the character beats.
Yeah, it's very affirming. And, I think the shock that Lauren has, like when she looks up at him, I think that it's very multifaceted and multi-layered. I think it's shock that he killed somebody for her, and recognizing that it was hard for him, and recognizing that he crossed the line that he wouldn't normally cross, and that he cares about her enough to save someone for her, to save her. And I think it's also that shock at seeing that side of him. So, I mean, and also honestly, what would she do like in that situation? I think most people to save their life would do a lot of things, including kill someone else, right? If someone's immediately attacking you, I mean, that's an instinct. So, and I don't think she would have necessarily done it different. Yeah, and that look when Kieran is, the last image panel that we discussed, when right after he disarms the other guy, Lauren has like pulled herself up on the roof and he's just standing there. He's not looking at Lauren. He's just looking at the other guy. I think he's taking a minute to compose himself because he's a little maybe ashamed Lauren seeing him that way, even though he did the right thing, honestly. But I think that it's hard for him to face Lauren after that because he doesn't want her to see him that way.
I don't know if he's really thinking about that, but
No? Okay.
you could read it that way.
And his face kind of softens up when he looks to ask if she's okay. At least that's how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
I will take that.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought of something like more affirming, like, are you okay? Like, to make sure that she doesn't have any injuries, and because that was probably the most traumatic thing to happen to her in a long time.
Well, honestly, what do you think? What do you guys think was more traumatic? The picture in Angelo's hand, notebook, or this?
I think the picture in his hands was more of like a internal realization thing, but this one was more of like a, oh, I'm literally about to die, physical harm thing, which can have similar reactions, but yeah, one was more of like horror, and this one was more of like survival mode. So either
I
way.
think it's also interesting how numb or just used to this kind of situation Kieran seems. Like, he did not blink, he did not hesitate at all. Like, Lauren is so shaken from the experience, and yes, it was her life in danger in that moment. But
I kind of thought, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Kieran has seen this before. He's used to it.
I kind of thought he might have been a little impulsive when he killed the man. Like, he didn't have enough time to think of like a less fatal way to get rid of the guy. So, but with the others, he was like a lot more calculated. He tried to like hit them somewhere unfatal, but this one, he was like spring into action. He had to do whatever was needed.
Well, that would indicate that he gets emotional at the sight of Lauren in danger, which is nice for us simps, for us lucky shippers. Well, Fwoot, I guess you can continue with the panels.
I mean, I would be scared if my ticket to taking down the leader of the Phantom Scythe almost died too. That would be pretty distressing.
Okay, fine. You can see it that way.
They're using each other at this point. They're still using each other for their own personal goals. They
are, but they're also bit by bit, chink by chink, they're warming their way into each other's hearts. And this is, again, it does not have to be, it could be platonic, it could be romantic, whatever, but like in a caring way.
Emotions.
So, yes, sir, if she's okay, she nods. She doesn't look at him, and he turns back and he says, let's get somewhere safe then. And Lauren's thinking as she looks at the man who I believe was knocked unconscious. I don't know, there's some blood right there. So
I think that's the guy you knocked out.
Yeah, I don't think, yeah, because he's not decapitated, but I'm not sure if he was killed.
She's comparing the two.
He never truly, in Lauren's looking at the corpse, and yet just now and we get this upward shot of her, or looking up to her, and it's kind of hard to tell her expression because it seems like she's more observing it in a silent, still, again, shock, and there's still blood on her face, and you can see like droplets of blood falling down. And she thinks back to the cave when Kieran said, I only kill when I'm ordered to, or if it's the only solution. And then she flashes back to the last episode where Kieran says, but next time things go to hell because of you, I'm letting you burn. And with these thoughts in mind, her main one is why. And we get this panel of Kieran looking down. He's covered in blood as well. And that is the end of that sequence.
I love it so much. Lauren can't even form sentences, and I can totally see, like, thankfully nobody's ever rushed at me, with a sword trying to kill me, but you can totally imagine her shock and her inability to like really think thoroughly because she's so shaken up.
No, she I mean, if you nearly die, it is kind of a traumatic thing, and it's a lot that you have to process and understand, on top of her trying to process and understand his motivations as well. So yeah, you can't really blame her for being a bit stunned.
Yeah, and Kieran's demeanor also just shows, the fact that, again, he's still not looking at her. He's looking down. He kind of looks contemplative as well, looking down at maybe the decapitated head, which we don't see. Yeah, it's affecting him emotionally as well, for all the reasons that I speculated about before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of cool that we're seeing like the dissonance between like what he says and what he does, because like I can recall at least 3 times up until this episode where he says that he has no issues killing her or letting her die if she causes trouble, and then the first time something like that happens, he saves her life. So it's kind of like he doesn't think he cares as much as he does. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I think
for
he's
sure.
forming an attachment without him realizing it.
Tale as old as time and all that.
No, it's great. It's good for him. I mean, he needs it. He's completely isolated. He doesn't have any friends. Human beings can't live that way. He needs to have human connection.
Yep.
We love it. And the next part of the scene is just fantastic also. And Lilia, you can lead us with that.
All right, so we go, Kieran and Lauren go back to the cave and they try to clean the blood off of their clothes and their bodies. And they're also not looking at each other, like they're each staring off in a different direction. There's like a little bit of a distance between them. And then Lauren takes a glance at Kieran and we see his back all scratched up and stuff. And yeah, do you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
back.
yeah.
The back.
Those of you who knew me on Discord, for a few months there, every time it passed midnight, I would send a picture of the back and say, "Come and get your cake."
Oh, what? That's awful.
No, but it was a funny tradition back in the day. But yeah, no, but beyond that, I just wanted to throw a reference to that. But beyond that, it's cool because you wouldn't have really seen those injuries, because you could just be like, oh, the blood's from when he killed that guy or like whatever, right? Because they're both covered in blood. But her looking back, she sees not only the cuts that he got from this fight, but how scarred he is on his back and probably in other places throughout his body. And it's kind of a vulnerable and humanizing moment for her to see, oh, he's not just an assassin who is untouchable and can get away with anything. He's probably had it rough.
Right,
Yeah,
and
I
like
mean,
he's very private about his past. Like he never mentions anything about himself. So it was kind of a good way to show that like both Lauren and the audience that he's been through probably torture without him saying anything. Like he doesn't reveal any of this, but we get to see it through the scene. Like
Yeah.
it's like there's a dark history written all over his back.
Right. Yeah, she's used to seeing him as the aggressor always, and she's always thought of him as evil, just the way everyone thinks of him. And now this is a very big shock to her, that she can maybe reconsider that there might be a reason for why he is doing what he's doing, and that it may not be voluntary. I don't know, she's not us. Like, we, the readers, get more information about his background than Lauren does. We get some flashbacks that she doesn't, but it probably would get the wheels turning in her head that maybe Kieran is not what he appears to be. And maybe there's more, like you said, of a human side to him than she realized. Yeah, I think it's a very powerful moment and image.
That's true.
Whew, he's been through some things.
Yes,
Mhm.
he has. So then he's trying to put bandages and struggling to put bandages around his injuries. And Lauren takes note of that and she offers to help him out. And he declines, but she insists. She's like, "You look stupid. I'll help you fix your bandages." And he agrees, or I guess silence is an agreement. I don't know. And then she starts to bandage him up.
It is so intimate, I have to say. I was so pleased to see this, that she's helping him and that she is, again, like their relationship until now has often been just sarcastic and antagonistic, but here she is genuinely helping him with something that he does need help with. It's beautiful.
And she's
And in a
taking
way, it's
initiative.
her repaying him for saving her life without having to say it, because I think her just doing this is a bit easier than actually saying it out loud, and she wants to kind of show that gratitude without putting it into words, because I don't know if she can put it into words yet, but she unconsciously knows that she wants to show that. So her offering to help him out with this is her way of showing that. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah,
Oh,
amazing.
I also just want to say, nice chunk of your arm that is missing, Kieran. That is a big scar he has right there.
And his shoulder.
Oh,
People talk
yes.
about that shoulder scar all the time. The theories about that shoulder scar go back at least a year. Like, nobody knows what it is. Was it like a grazed gunshot wound, something that got cut? We don't know if it's going to be relevant or not, but it could be. We never know.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I can't. I have horrible memory, so I don't know if anyone's brought this up yet, but Lauren's also wearing a binder, which I thought
Yeah.
was a neat detail.
Right, because she's still trying to not look, to make Loon be out like two men as much as she can, I guess.
Also, I just want to say one of my favorite panels of this is the one where it's like you just see her hands behind him and he's kind of looking back, because it's kind of shows how kind of vulnerable he's feeling in this moment with her helping him, and he's not used to having help. He's remarkably self-sufficient, and like we said before, he has no other human connections. So he, on any other night, probably when he comes back from missions, he probably gets injured from people, shot at or attacked with knives, and when people are trying to defend themselves. So he probably has to bandage himself up all the time, and it probably is really hard, especially if he's in a lot of pain. So him seeing her help him, even though he knows that he just threatened her like a few days ago, and her helping him is just kind of shocking for him. And I don't know, I just like seeing the expression on his face, kind of a bit stunned and a bit in awe in a way. Just good character stuff. But I feel
It's
like
a
I say
little-
that every time.
It's a little odd that he sucks at doing bandages, because like you think over the amount of injuries that he's gotten, he should be proficient at doing that.
I don't know if it's about sucks, it's just that it just takes longer. So it wasn't that he was
True.
sucking, it was just that it was taking a long time, and she was just being like, I'm right here, I could just do this for you in 5 seconds.
He also
is
might
true.
be because she's with him in the cave. I mean, first of all, he's like a little emotionally shaken up by what he just did for her, and the fact that she's here in his private space is probably also making him more awkward than usual.
That's a good point. All right, shall we move on?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so Lauren bandages him up, and honestly, this is the closest we've ever seen them, aside from dancing. But
Didn't they have each other pinned in like the first few episodes?
The difference is this is the closest they've been, like, not, I don't want to say emotionally, because that's not really what's happening, but they're not putting on any personas or anything right now. They're kind of stripped down, literally, in a way. So literally him with his shirt off, her in just her undershirt with the binder. It's just like literally stripped down in terms of clothes, but also more emotionally stripped down. So they're a bit more raw and real with each other. And this is the first time we've really seen them with their guards down, relaxed, and not bantering or talking or making jokes. And this is the first time we're seeing that, because much as I love the tango scene, they're putting on a front for that. They're acting. And though we get some moments of genuine interactions between them, it's mainly an act. So I really love this scene to just show them ignoring that.
And they're also completely silent, actually, throughout
One
this
of
whole
the
time.
first times that they're not trying to kill each other.
That too.
Yeah, and I think, they're both silent because, Kieran, I think, is uncomfortable with, like you said, in shock at her doing this for him. And Lauren is still very, very much, taken aback by what just happened and shaken up. So they're both just quiet. They don't even talk. I love this whole scene. It's just so beautiful.
Well, Lauren can't really object to what he did because we'd be like, okay, otherwise you'd be dead. Like I know morally this is troubling her, but the fact that it's either her life or this random stranger she's never met. So
I think she realizes that. Like, I think she recognizes that had he not done that, she would be dead. And there is probably a part of her that is torn up about the fact that this guy died, but I think she's more shocked about the fact that Kieran killed for her to save her life, but didn't kill the other guy. Like, it's multiple things at once that are recontextualizing her, how she thinks of him in her mind.
Mm-hmm.
that's a good point. All right, so then we go on to Lauren finishing up with her bandaging, and she says, okay, it's done. And then she's still tugging on one of the ends of the bandage. And then we see her about to say something, actually and then blurt text, everybody's least favorite thing. And then Kieran's like, what? And then we don't see what happens after. So what do you think happened after?
You don't know
We
how
totally don't
annoying
know.
this was when this
totally
episode
don't
came
know.
out. But we know now that a week took so long. And if anybody who's reading this and hasn't gotten to the next one yet, and you're just like, what happened? First of all, you have remarkable self-control to have not read that one. But also, when it wasn't out, to have to wait to figure out what she said to him, even though we probably know, like, you could probably figure it out.
What did you guys think she said?
I mean,
Not what the comments were thinking.
no,
Wait,
the
what are the
comments
comments saying?
are...
I love you.
A love declaration. Like, how does that even?
Please, even I don't think that would happen, and I'm
Yeah, no.
against the pepper. I am so proud of myself, by the way. Can I say? I didn't say, well, I'll say it now, so I don't know if my self-control counts. I didn't say a single comment about Kieran's body, and okay, I'm very proud. I know that, you know, I could represent many people in pointing out his muscles and stuff, but I didn't say anything until now.
One of the things I love, though, when she's tugging on the bandage, so we can see that her hand is shaking. So she's kind of rattled and like trying to figure out everything with him, and this whole night's just been a big shock to her. And again, she tried to help him out now, but then she's trying to put her feelings into words, and it's kind of hard to do that. I just love that. Also, the panel at the end with him looking over his shoulder and being like, what? Well done. The lighting, the expressions. These episodes, this stretch of episodes has such good facial expressions. They're so good. I love it.
That's something that caught him off guard.
Yes.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that she was gonna say like, why is your back so messed up, or something along those lines, or I'm surprised that you, I don't know what.
I mean, what I thought was gonna happen was what actually happened, and I don't really want to say that right now because spoilers, even though I figure people who are watching this have read it already, but I don't want
Probably
to
10
say
times.
yeah. But so I don't know if I want to say it now. Do you think it's okay? Okay, wait, spoiler alert for what happens, what she says, but it's immediately at the beginning of the next one. But basically she thanks him for saving her life, which is what I figured, because your boy never gets thanked for saving lives. Your boy always takes lives. So to save someone's life and to have that person thank him for it is kind of messing with his brain, and he's not used to it. He was not prepared, and I love it.
Maybe he was expecting a different reaction, like a comment on like maybe she could have said something like, oh, why don't you try something less, like, oh god, I can't
lethal,
but like, yes, like, why didn't you try to knock him out, or like that was killing him the only solution. That's, I guess it makes sense for him to expect a reaction like that from her, because like she's supposed to be like the very morally upright cop and all.
I think
that goes with that image.
I think he probably expected her to not say anything about it. Maybe give him shit like you said, or just not acknowledge it, because remember, they're supposed to be partners who don't get too personal, but when you thank someone for saving your life, it's a bit personal. So I think it's them being very vulnerable, and he was not prepared for her to be vulnerable in front of him.
Yeah. That expression on his face when he turns around, it's like he doesn't know what she's going to say, but he knows it's going to be personal and it's going to be emotional, because they both recognize that, you know, without saying things to each other, because they're not quite open really, they both recognize that something big just happened. So it's kind of like, you know, he knows that she's going to say something meaningful, and he's maybe anxious, or, you know, about what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's just, these episodes are great. From 26 to 28, they're iconic and really great in terms of learning about their respective characters and the way that they think about things, internalize things, how they present themselves, all of that. And these episodes are some of my favorites, not only in season 1, but in probably the whole series. So
They make me so nostalgic.
yeah,
Season 1.
Season 1 was
You
great.
can always reread.
Oh, I do. But
I
season 1 was like completely different vibes from season 2.
just can't wait to read the whole thing when it's done as a
Mm.
collective, because there's things in season 1 we probably didn't even pick up on that when we reread it's gonna be like,
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And all the little lines that now don't make any sense. Like, that night you could have killed me. I didn't know it, and I was blinded to them all. Suddenly it'll
Why
all
did
make
he
sense.
hesitate?
Oh my
I'm
God.
waiting for that. The longest mystery of the series.
No, literally, when I say why did he hesitate, I always have to do claps, because why? But yeah, we will learn eventually.
Like,
gonna
I'm
be
more
tragic.
interested in that than finding out the identity of the leader. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Little bit of-
100%.
Eh. Yeah.
Hell.
What is the end note for this episode? It's I had to study men's back a lot for this episode. Now Pinterest is going to suggest me naked men pics for the next 2 months. Your sacrifice was worth it, so.
Yeah, I had to do for my job. I find footage for advertisements, so I had to look up a mer people. So I found this merman's account, and it was let me stop recording because this is not really relevant to provide.